for more on the action in Paris, where a fire has broken out at the Place du Châtelet. We can cross to our reporter, Antonia Kerrigan. Antonia, tell us more then about what's happening where you are.
Well, here we're just north of Place du Châtelet, as you say, and just further up this Rue Saint-Denis, Rue Saint-Denis, a fire has broken out. The frontage of a Korean restaurant went up in flames on a crowded street that protesters were using to travel from Place du Châtelet north towards Les Halles shopping centre, as protesters throughout the day are trying to stay ahead of the police movements. Now, protesters on that very crowded street retreated, if you will, to make room for various emergency vehicles to pass. The fire seems to be now being handled by the authorities. We'll have to see as the day goes on into the evening whether what's happened here puts a damper on this protest movement going forward throughout the rest of the day.
Other than that fire, Antonia, can you tell us more about the atmosphere that you've seen around Paris today, and what have the protesters been telling you?
Well, the protests have been relatively calm in the areas we've been in. Of course, there were the roadblocks early this morning. There were attempts to shut down the railway station Gare du Nord. But in the organised protests, it's been much more calm. Interactions with the police have been broadly harmonious here in the Châtelet part of town. Police have, of course, multiplied in numbers as protesters have grown in numbers. And protesters, of course, as this is mostly not a centrally organised protest movement, but instead a disparate organisation heavily arranged and coordinated through social media channels such as Telegram. Protesters are constantly communicating with one another, trying to stay ahead of the police movements, trying to disperse before they are dispersed in order that the police cannot contain and reduce the disruption these protests will cause. So we'll be following the situation closely on the Rue Saint-Denis and whether those protesters continue to move north or what happens next.